Yeah, we've taken, Danny showed me that. Let me find my because you have to drive through and go.
Katie's here.
After 5 minutes, she's like, no, I'm done.
How old are they?
How are you doing? Good. She misses you.
How old? Me too.
Good. Good. Yeah, we drove by the school the other day, and she said, I really miss her. She's going to have you next year, right? Oh, yeah.
We're going to be in the room next year.
She was saying that she was going to have this security or what, so.
Take a moment of silent thought and reflection. Calling meeting to order. This meeting has been posted and announced in accordance with Chapter 231 PL 1975. Mr. Jacobus, please call the roll.
Mr. Kugler.
Here.
Mrs. Torres. Here. Mr. Zangari. Here. Mr. Frieda.
Here.
Mrs. Lombardi.
Here.
Mr. Rivera.
Here. Are there any questions or concerns of the minutes from June 23rd, 2014? Hearing none. We have no SGL representative tonight. Is there a superintendent's report? Mr. Jacoby? Superintendent, we have no report. Items, remarks, and committee reports to be presented by board members. Mr. Kugler? Not tonight, Mr. President. Thank you. Mrs. Torres?
None.
Mrs. Lombardi?
Nothing.
Mr. Zangari? No. Mr. Frieda?
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
I have no comments tonight. Remarks by citizens. Remarks regarding agenda items and issues that are relevant to the educational system. A participant must sign in and be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of his or her name, place of residence, and group affiliation if appropriate. The individual called shall proceed with a maximum of 5 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the President of the Board of Education. No participant may address board members individually. I have a motion to open public comment. Second. All in favor? Aye. Stacy Hochstrom, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and affiliation with the program.
Hi, my name is Stacy Hoxtell, and I am a resident in Belleville, New Jersey, on Center Street. I have a question in regards to School 7. We had some concerns that we wanted to just address and make known. We were promised air conditioning units into our school, which half of the school does have, but our electrical lines do not support all of the air conditioners that are for the classrooms. So I was wondering if that was going to come into fruition anytime soon for the next school year. It was a concern for some of the parents as well as faculty members as well. We did have some units that were in waiting to be provided for some of the classrooms, but the units, didn't have the electrical sockets for there. Is there anything that, is going to be done about this?
I know that we have the electrical upgrades scheduled to be done. I'm not sure where we stand on that right now.
Okay.
But if you give us some time, we can look into it and find out.
Okay, and the other concern for next year as well was technology. Where are we going down that road for technology for the classrooms? Will all the classrooms at the school be equipped with smart boards, or are there any other things into play that we'll be seeing in the near future for as far as technology concerned?
Well, the whole district was upgraded as far as the wire capabilities was concerned. I don't think we'll see smart boards in every classroom. I don't think we can afford to do that right now.
Okay.
But
We have at least one for every grade level.
I believe we do.
We do, in our school, we do. We just wanted to see if we were able,
To actually buy them for every single class?
Right, exactly.
I don't think we can at this time. I'm not sure. I mean, Mr. Jacolas will probably have to go look and see if they're within the budget.
Okay, and the other question was computers too, as well, besides the smart boards. Will we be seeing upgraded computers?
You're going to be seeing computer banks that are coming into all the schools. We need them for the part testing. So they were purchased already, and the banks are going to be set up. And we're going to be using those for the testing programs.
Now, is this district-wide or?
Yes.
Okay, and this is for the teachers for their classrooms?
These are banks of computers for the students to use to do testing.
Okay,
We are replacing computers as we can
Okay.
in classrooms that are outdated.
okay. I just wanted to make another, note that I'm just hopeful with Mr. Egan here, and I'm hopeful, and I know a lot of parents are very hopeful that, things will be going in the right direction now, and I'm very thankful, and I hope that you guys, focus on what's, we're headed down the right road from here on in. I'm very looking forward to the next school year and working with, everybody here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, and do I have to mention now part of, the OPE?
The home school. Are you the president?
Yes, I am.
You're the president of the home school? number
Yes, I
17.
am.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anthony Sabella, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and affiliation with the program.
Anthony Savella, 40 Crescent Terrace, Belleville, New Jersey. I have no affiliation. I'm almost sorry that I had to come here tonight to get something done. For those who know me, in 2011, my uncle received the Medal of Honor, and the town went on to honor him with a monument in front of the high school. Since then, just about every day I drive by the school. The children sit on it as a bench. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't a picture of his face, but it just kind of makes insult to injury. I've come in and I've spoke to, I believe it was Mr. Rotunda at the time about it. I was kind of upset, so I told him, just look out your window after school, you can see it. It's not yet, it's still there, it's still rampant. It was also told in the beginning that this was going to be part of the curriculum, that to learn what my uncle did. did, the Korean War, I don't believe it ever was. Every incoming class was supposed to have an assembly to let them know exactly what he was out there. The couple of kids I did catch when I pulled over and said, "What are you doing sitting on there?" They looked at me, "Why?" You just have to read what's next to it, and you can understand why the man was being honored. Also now, for the last 3 weeks, there's green bubble gum smeared across his face. I called Mr. Pagano's office. He had already left midday, left a message with his secretary. This was 3 weeks ago. I was going to come and clean the gum off myself, but I just wanted to leave it there to show the point that even maintenance walks by this thing every day and leaves it like that. There are bricks missing already. We need to protect this and respect this. And this is not, it's not happening here in front of the school. I would like to see a fence put around it. We can't keep the kids from sitting on it, either because of ignorance or another reason. I would like to see a fence put around it. I would like to see the brick repaired. I would like to see the gum cleaned off his face. I mean, I never asked for this. The town decided to do this, which was a great thing. Monuments are easy to build. It's something else to maintain them. And if you're not going to maintain them, don't build them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Arlene Shaw, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and affiliation if appropriate.
Good evening. Arlene Shore, 75 Rossmore Place here in Belleville. I was just going over policies in general, and one of the things I noticed was perhaps it's a typo. If one goes into policy of affirmative action, the policy edit date is 2011. But as we scroll to the end of the policies, except for the policy which involved bullying, the copyright date is 2013 from Strauss Esme Associates, which I assume were the subcontractors who updated all of our policies depending on the segment. I don't know whether that was a typo or whether if you go to and see the computer, you can just check it because it has a policy date of 2011 and it has a policy edit date of 2011, but yet the copyright is 2013. And I think, we know policy is policy. I think that needs to be, if it needs to be tweaked, it needs to be adjusted.
If you could provide us with the exact policy number?
1140, and then it's hands down to 1510, 1530. I then proceeded to check down to the bottom one, which was the one on bullying. That one, the edit date was, I thought, correct. I believe, but I think you can check it. It's on the site.
I don't know that those policies were edited. I mean, that particular policy that you're quoting, I don't know.
Well, it's the whole affirmative action section, so I think you just might want to check it.
Okay.
It wouldn't take much, but I just thought it was a little off. The other thing that I would like to raise for the board's consideration is that there should be, but I don't remember it being presented, a technology plan for instruction, as well as a general technology plan for operation of the district. Obviously, I know that we have an economic crisis here, but at the same time, these computers will be arriving. In the meantime, we've had issues with some of our technology instructors on the elementary level during this past year as to the level of instruction that they could provide because the technology wasn't working in the first place to give instruction to the children. And obviously, the students need some type of familiarity with computer technology to take the PARC test. So I think we need to make modifications in our instructional plan regarding technology, but I think that the interests of the children as far as instruction needs to take priority. The other thing is that since I see the transfer of technology, Rosetta Stone teachers to elementary school positions, I was wondering how the district is going to handle the objective addressing world languages, which is part of core curriculum standards. So that proceeds to be a question. We did have our technology person addressing that with Rosetta Stone, and there was supposed to be a segue into the teachers eventually become familiar enough with the technology to use it. But in some schools, the technology wasn't working to begin with, so the teachers had logistical issues with that. The other thing that I'd just like to bring to the board's attention, and of course this could be hearsay, but I know that a former member of the Board of Ed supposedly was here today, who is now a councilman, meeting with the middle school principal and the acting director of curriculum, and if it involved personnel, it would be appropriate. Thank you.
Jeff Mattingly, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate, sir.
Jeff Mattingly, 56 Walnut. No group affiliation as of tonight to speak. I've been appearing before you now more than a year, pretty much at every meeting. And many times, several times recently, I've asked if the board would consider broadcasting, recording and broadcasting the meetings again. You told me, Mr. Rivera, that you would organize a meeting and discuss it. Have you reached any?
We haven't had a technology committee meeting yet, sir.
You know, in view of the realizations and last year's events that bring us to where we're at now, I think it would be an incredible thing, public relations-wise, for the purpose of truth and disclosure and cooperation and honesty, that the board consider quickly reinstating those. In fact, the whole department suffers because so many things aren't broadcast. It's such an incredible asset to be able to utilize the cable station when it's completely ignored, even suspiciously ignored. So, I mean, I think it would be a great thing for this board to show their goodwill to the public and start recording these meetings so that people don't have to run straight out of work, which is what I did in order to be here. You know, we don't have time in today's world, especially in a working class neighborhood, which we are. And I'd like for you to consider that expeditiously, if you would. I mean, it's been a year. You know, I ask regularly. I appreciate that. And the other thing is the lawsuits. I understand we're settling lawsuits, and that's great. I'm hoping that we're nearing a conclusion to the Mike Mignon lawsuit. Because I know you can't discuss it, but I'd like to point out to the board that I don't think there'll be any real faith coming to the board from the teaching staff until that critical lawsuit is solved, closed, put to bed. And I know that you don't comment on it, but there are offers and there are proceedings and arbitration that you must be privy to in private. And I would hope that you're doing your very best to bring that to a conclusion. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Please come to the podium, state your name, your address, and your group affiliation, sir.
Mike Mignon, 23 Westville Avenue, Caldwell. Before I get started, Mr. Rivera, I'd like to make mention that, as usual, I have a prepared speech in front of me, so I would really appreciate it. It would show this audience, it would show the teachers, it would show the community a lot of respect. If you could just this time, without interruption, allow me to complete it. I don't think it's going to go beyond 5 minutes, but in case it does, I would really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Mr.
All right, so anyway, my affiliation is I'm the proud president of the Belleville Education Association, and also a privileged member of the Belleville United Coalition. Over the past 2 years, we, the residents, employees, and students of Belleville, have been ignored, neglected, disregarded, and all out disrespected by the Board of Education and the superintendent. Still, we did not lie down and allow you to impose your ill will on us. Instead, we did what any self-respecting community would do. We stood strong together and stopped the bleeding. We made a conscious commitment to take back our town. We have successfully turned the tide in Belleville from a self-serving attitude based on political interest to a communal principle based on student-centered interests. For the first time in 2 years, we see a glimmer of hope. A vision of a better Belleville is now a reality. We have taken on the task of promoting an education system that puts its students' interests first and treats its employees with the professional respect they deserve. Still, it's time for this town to start healing. But this cannot happen unless you right the wrongs that you have done to this community. You can start with full disclosure of your misconduct, followed by a sincere apology for the hurt that you have caused this town. I have in front of me the very petition the Belleville Education Association created and circulated across the state, and it reads as follows. We ask that you sign our petition to show you desire for a better Belleville. We all want a future where our students can succeed, and we all want an intimidation-free workplace for Belleville school employees. Our current superintendent and Board of Education have failed to provide these and instead have created an environment filled with bad decisions and unethical behavior. It's time to hold them accountable. Moreover, the Belleville School District's finances are in a ruin. In the last 2 years, under the helm of Superintendent Helene Feldman and his current Board of Education, the district has racked up 32 audit deficiencies and has mismanaged and misappropriated budgeted taxpayers' money so poorly the State Department of Education monitor has to be assigned. What happened to public transparency and fiduciary responsibility? Instead of listening to the public and staff concerned, this superintendent and Board of Education are argumentative, disrespectful, and choose to demoralize their staff by refusing to address even the most basic of educational needs. You have the power to change the tide. Join a statewide movement and demand that the Belleville Superintendent and Board of Education apologize to the staff, student, and community for their action. Your signature will demand transparency, accountability, and cooperation over intimidation, corruption, and stonewalling. Together, let's speak in one clear voice. It's time for a better Belleville. Thank you. Yours in unity, the Belleville Education Association. In only 2 weeks, almost 1,200 people statewide signed this statement that reads, to the Board of Education members, I demand that Superintendent Feldman and the Board of Education immediately apologize to the Belleville staff, student, and community for their recent actions. I expect the Belleville School District will be a place of transparency, accountability, and cooperation, not one of intimidation, corruption, and stonewalling. And then sincerely, that person had to sign in that spot. It's time to do the right thing. It's what we deserve. This is no longer just a Belleville issue. Education professionals and political figureheads from all over the country are watching and awaiting the outcome of the crisis in Belleville. I will leave you with some questions to ponder. What principles guide you in your decision making? Where is your integrity? When will you hold yourself responsible for the turmoil that you have caused this community? And why not now? Thank you.
Please call names that you name, address, Swearing if appropriate, sir.
Don McGrone, 61 Continental Avenue, Belleville. In tonight's agenda, it talks about transfers. Are all the transfers now complete, as far as you know?
Thank you.
Those are the transfers we have up to date, yes, sir. I don't know if all the transfers are there. There may be more transfers coming, I don't know at this time.
Have all the people who are coming back been told they're coming back?
Not yet, sir.
That to me seems very unfair. I realize that your hands are tied because you've got a number that you have to work on. But if I were an unemployed teacher, my first concern would be my family. I would be out looking for another job. And my fear is you're going to lose some good teachers because they're going to interview in another district, and that district is going to say yes. And if Belleville hasn't said yes yet, they may be signed with that other district. So I think we're at a loss because the hands are tied. Can you tell me how many people were riffed, teacher-wise?
Mr. Jacobus, do you have that information?
An approximate number? 80?
About 110.
Okay, do you know how many of them are expected to be rehired?
Approximately 60.
Okay. Can you tell me the same thing about the secretaries? How many secretaries?
That's an overall number.
Yep. Oh, so the 110 is the entire staff?
Correct.
All right, so then you wouldn't know how many secretaries are not.
Approximately 6.
And what about custodians?
Right now, about 11.
All right. The administrative staff, are we now finished with the administration, or do we still have it?
I believe all the administrative staff is filled.
I have a question. I don't expect the answer now. Is it possible for me to get a listing of all the administrators and their salaries? Is there some reason why I couldn't get that?
You can open that information, sir. It's public information.
Last meeting I talked about the second reading, and I was told that the items that were up for second reading would be on the line. Yes. And if they were there, I couldn't find them. I went through the policies, and even if I did find them, I saw old policies. I didn't see any new policies. They may have been there somewhere, but they weren't obvious enough for me to find them, and I consider myself somewhat computer literate. I've taught computers for 30 years. But that's a lie, because computers were around 40 years. Anyway, I couldn't find it. If I could find it, I guess I would have had the new policy and the old policy. Would I have had to go word for word to look for where the changes are? I hope that's what the Board of Education had to do when he told them we're changing certain policies.
No, sir, that's not how it's done. It strikes the words being changed.
Okay, so if that's what you do for the Board of Education, it already would have been done. So it wouldn't be any great job on the Board of Education's part to publish that.
It shouldn't have been, sir. I know we did discuss it at the last meeting.
Okay.
Why it wasn't done, I don't know. I'll have to find
All
out.
right. A question was asked about computers, and you said that banks were ordered and were paid for. When we talked about banks once before, I think we talked about 30 per school to be used on the park test. Didn't we already administer a park test this year? And if so, where are those 30 computers that you need? I admit my ignorance. I know the park test is around. I don't know whether or not they'll
Right. And the computer banks the computers are here. They're in banks. There's 60 for the high school. There's 30 for the other schools. I think we have, is it 60 for middle school as well? I think we have 60 for the middle
Okay,
school as
but
well.
with the population of each school, 30 really is not. They're going to have to be moved on a daily basis,
And that's
not
what
an
it's
instruction that's needed to teach the kids how to turn it on, how to fix a mistake, whatever. If it isn't done over at least a couple of weeks before they get away from it, it's going to, for me, it's going to be lost learning. The equipment that's already here, a lot of teachers, when they got up and spoke, talked about computers not working, printers not working, whatever. Are they going to be fixed by September? I thought somebody said at the last meeting that Clarity had a contract to take care of the computers, but it was $20,000 a month. And we didn't have the money to pay $20,000 a month, so nothing was being done. Will the computers that are not working in each school now be working by September?
It's my understanding that the vendor is still working at this point, at this time. I don't know if all the computers will be repaired. I know that there were many tickets out there before the vendor came on board. They've cleaned most of those tickets up. There are some outstanding items that they're looking at. I couldn't tell you whether, without having discussed it with them, whether or not all those issues will be handled by September. So.
Okay. Again, it becomes an educational problem if they don't.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, I'll give you a comment.
Sure.
Let me just make a comment about technology. Everybody's concerned about that in the district going forward. Over the last 2 weeks, we formed a committee that is a technology/grants committee. We are receiving some grant money that was announced. And that's one of our resources to fund some of the technology we need in the district. The acting director of curriculum, Mrs. Kelleher, is leading the committee. We have several different administrators on it. We have our tech coordinator on it. We're looking at both two major things: the infrastructure to run technology and the needs of technology for instruction, for assessment, and meeting the demands that the state has. I think probably within a month's time, we certainly will be able to give some kind of presentation. We had a meeting today, really one of our first meetings, and everybody's excited about looking at the technology and trying to solve the problem, in both financial and instructional. So our first task is to do some inventory, make sure that schools are evenly, have an even distribution of technology, and how we'll go about seeking more grants and funding the technology that the district needs. So I think, I know there's a lot of questions of what was not working, what should be working. That's part of our task, is to identify those areas. We know that right now we have a small, financial commitment to it. We need to better that, and I think there's a lot of enthusiasm with that committee, and I'm really hopeful that's going to make a huge difference going forward and have a technology plan.
You mentioned in another month, and again, that sounds great, but from the teacher's standpoint, a month without a smartboard or a month without the ability to run copies is a very long time. It's not the same as somebody out in the industry saying, well, you're going to be without a secretary for a month. You can make do. Teachers have trouble making do without a laptop or without a smartboard or without the ability to make copies. And comments have been made at the last 4 or 5 meetings about not having textbooks, so teachers are being told by the principals or by other teachers to photocopy what they had and use that. That's a copyright violation. We could be in a lot of trouble if people found out that's what we're doing.
We know there's some short-term priorities having to do with opening school, and then there's long-term goals that we need to set.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wells, please come to the podium, state your name, your address, and your group affiliation if appropriate.
My name is Patricia Wells, Beach Street, Belleville. I would like to direct my question to Ms. Regan through the chair. My question is, if we had 110 people laid off, why did we hire a supervised maintenance person? Could we have hired them in that department, that we had to go outside our district and hire somebody?
Mr. Egan.
I'm not sure if I know exactly how to answer that question. Obviously, I'll answer it truthfully. My personal opinion, I thought it was best to hire someone from outside the district to run the department. We needed some fresh eyes in the school district to assess the needs of all the custodians and the maintenance personnel to make sure that we had the sufficient number of people and not extra people. So we needed someone with fresh eyes, without any relationship with anyone, to come in and make that assessment. because the prior individual retired.
No, I'm saying when Vinny was on vacation, there had to be somebody to fill that shoe. When he wasn't on vacation, when he was on vacation, when he was out sick, or wherever he was.
There was an assistant.
There was an assistant. What happened to that assistant? He just got thrown aside.
No, he's still there.
Well, I mean, we should be hiring in our district and not be spending money to hire somebody when we laid off 110 people. Really. Thank you.
Thank you. George M. Polite, please come to the podium, state your name, your address, and your group affiliation if appropriate.
George M. Polite, 127 Stevens Street. My question in regards to the grants with technology and the grants that were written were co-written in conjunction with Bruno and Associates. Now, the group that you're pulling together now, is that a different group? Do we still have an outside grant writer?
At this time, we do not have an outside grant writer, and we are evaluating that from personnel within to see where once we establish all of our staffing and we look at our budget, that's a consideration for the future, but right now we don't have a grant writer.
Okay, and the work that was done with the committee with Gary Klotskin, myself, and other staff members, where is that going?
Right now, it's on hold until this committee starts to develop some plans, and we are looking at it. We just right now can't commit to funding the grant writer.
And the application for the Race to the Top grants and Century 21 grants that were worked upon, is that still in limbo? Was the application made? Because it appeared that the last couple of meetings were canceled, rescheduled, and now at this point it's
in review until we get school open. That's how I'd have to say, until we get the staffing and we get everybody back.
Thank you.
Motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on to resolutions. We have a motion on A, personnel.
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Torres.
I'd like to have a motion to take A1 separate. I'd like to have a motion to take A1 personnel separate.
So you can do that more informally and simply request that it be separated.
Okay, the request is that we pull A1 separate, Mr. Thomas, we pull A1 separate from the rest of the items.
I'm sorry, I meant to say I wanted to have it tabled. I'm sorry, I apologize.
So that does require a motion and a second.
We have a motion to table A1. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Jacobs, please call the roll.
Mr. Kugler?
Yes.
Yes to table, right?
Yes to table, yes.
Mrs. Torres? Yes. Mr. Zingari?
Yes.
Mr. Frieden?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes. Mr. Jacobs, please poll the board on the remaining items in A.
It's just for the purpose of clarity, if I may, this would be with the modifications that were discussed. Mr. Jacobs?
Yes, that's the current list of returning personnel,
Current subject to review by the superintendent. Correct?
subject to review by the superintendent.
Thank you.
That'll be added to the resolution.
Yes, thank you. No, that's all of A. Everything except A1.
Everything except. Okay, on the remaining items today, Mr. Jacobus?
Mr. Kubler?
Yes.
Mrs. Torres? Mr. Zangari? Mr. Frieda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes. May I have a motion under B, curriculum and instruction? So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jacobus?
Mr. Kubler?
Yes.
Mrs. Torres?
Yes.
Mr. Zangari?
Yes.
Mr. Frieda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes. Motion passes. May I have a motion under C, board action and board policy? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Zangari.
Mr. Rivera, I would like to ask C2 to be polled individually. I'd like to make a motion to table C2.
There's a motion on the floor to table C2. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Jacobus, please call the roll.
Mr. Kubler?
Yes.
Mrs. Torres? Mr. Zangari? Mr. Frieda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes. Okay, C2 has been tabled. Is there any further discussion on the board action, board policy? Hearing none, Mr. Jacobus, please poll the board on the remaining items.
Should we have a motion? The other motion was just a table.
No, there was a prior.
There was a prior motion.
Okay. Mr. Kubler?
Yes.
Mrs. Torres? Mr. Zangari? Mr. Frieda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes. May I have a motion on D, purchasing of business services? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none? Mr. Jacobus?
Mr. Kubler?
Yes.
Mrs. Torres? Mr. Zangari? Mr. Frieda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi? Mr. Rivera?
Yes. May I have a motion under E, finance? So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Jacobus?
Mr. Kubler?
Yes.
Mrs. Torres? Mr. Zangari?
Yes.
Mr. Frieda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you, good night.
Hey, how are you, Jen?
Go to